Welcome to Pauls3D here. We'll be doing some videos on assembling some of the models that I make. Start with the 152. I might come up with more different models, different aircraft later on. Recommend if you want to have a good solid build on this, you want to glue the two halves together. I'll show you a little bit of gluing later on, but obviously right now would be the best time to do it. You can see right here I got the cowling. I got to take some of the supports off. I might come up with a different model later on that won't use external supports on the cowling, so I can save on some of this support material. So it will be held together, the two halves, if you don't use glue, just by the cowling and the horizontal stabilizer. You'll notice the horizontal stabilizer is gray instead of this natural white, which is ASA from Prusa. That gray horizontal stab that we use to hold the two together is made out of the polycarbonate blend. Right now on the cowling, since I had to use supports on these posts, I have to clean them up a little bit, as the how well you clean it up is going to determine how well it fits together. And on here you will notice later on that the fit wasn't so good. And the nose wheel doesn't matter so much, except for just plain appearances. So once I get that cleaned up, then I'll pop out the horizontal stabilizer, which I have set on that cradle. Shouldn't be too hard to pop out. So I'm going to place these two halves together and stick that on there. So as you can see, it's a little bit tight. So you can carve it down a little bit more for an easier fit. I just used the floor and pushed it on there and put the horizontal stab on good and tight, just like that. And so that'll hold the two together. That should be good enough for all intents and purposes. And these are going to be that's going to be one of the fairings we'll talk about later on. Here's the vertical stab and rudder. What you want to do is just kind of sneak that under there a little bit and center it. If you don't get it perfectly centered, that's fine. The next part will deal with that. So now we got the other fairing. They'll just snap right into there in between the vertical and horizontal stabilizer. And these will help center it and give the plane a bit more of a complete look there. Now we'll move on to the wings. Clean those up a little bit. Now these interconnect supports for the model card are pretty thin, so you probably don't really have to use a knife to clean them off, but if you want to get a good clean edge, it's not a bad idea. Just makes it look a little bit nicer. You can also theoretically sand it down too. Here are the wing struts. They're going to be broader on the leading edge than on the trailing edge, and they only go in one way. You'll notice it's got the long end towards the fuselage and short end towards the wing. You want to kind of fit them together at the same time, so you can pull out the center of the wing strut and help line it up with the wing, and then continue to put the wing on the rest of the way. Doesn't go so good if you just try to go straight on with the wing. It's going to be all cattywampus. It's going to have the wing sitting up much higher. Does not look good. So here's an example of how much you can flex it. It's not too bad. Then once that's on there properly, you can squish them right down. They'll sit pretty flush with the fuselage. And that's done. So moving on to landing gear. Here are the main wheels. Wheels and gear struts are two different components. And you'll notice that it has a very pronounced fine tip there. Well, that'll match up with the longest side of the gear strut fitting. They go together pretty nicely. Just pop them in there. A little bit of pressure against a flat surface. Very gentle. There you go. And then you can just slap them on the fuselage into those slots on the side. Sorry, it's a little bit out of camera. Apologies for that. I would have done a better job on this, but I kind of intend to change up the model later on, do a little remix. And the nose gear is pretty self-explanatory, just pops in there, nice and easy. And there you go. It's a finished product. If you stuck around, then I guess you can see me just do a little after assembly gluing, which did not work out too great, if I'm honest. Got the tape, got the glue. You want to use like a nice soft masking tape, as it's easy to clean up later on. And The glue is just a simple little Gorilla Glue. Just get the model a little bit wet because that's just what the instructions for the Gorilla Glue say. Put it in the top crack and the bottom crack, and then I smeared it in with my finger. And once that was done, wrap it up in tape to apply pressure to try to hold it together. And there you have it. Good pressure should hold it together, but if I'm honest, it doesn't hold it tremendously well. You're better off doing that from the start. Anyway, thank you again for watching. Hopefully we'll have more models coming out in the future. We'll see how well this goes.